Next thing we will touch base on is the exception handling. What do you mean by exception handling? So in this process, you will understand what is an exception, what is handling. Of course, every time we say error, what is the difference between error, exception, and exception handling? So first of all, now you will get a big question. When you're writing a code itself, you will try to write without a bugs. That's what, right? Then what is the concept of getting an error and you are handling that as an exception? First, we will understand what is an error. So errors are like two types. Either if you don't understand language, how it works, like syntax errors. You need to write if in a particular way, else in a particular way. So, but you don't know how to use. So if you write, that is an exception handling. Sorry, syntax errors will come. Without that, you cannot even run any program. So you should correct them first of all. And there are other types of errors called as logical errors. Means you wrote a logic in a particular way, but you are supposed to write the logic in another way. So of course, that is a point of debate because it's a subjective. Maybe like someone helped you understand in a other way, or like you were confused, or someone else who gave the requirement was confused, or anything. So now errors, briefly, if you see, there are three types of errors. The syntax errors, as I told, if you don't know the language, if they are there, the program itself can't run. So we should correct it. Only then the program runs. After the program has started, two types of things happens. Either exceptional error happens, means sometimes some kind of errors happens. So these are called as runtime errors. Those runtime errors can be like, so logical errors or exceptional errors. If exceptional errors means sometimes like, say daily the code runs. It should go to the Facebook, get the new friend request, and you should accept it. That is a program. But suddenly today, no one came, so nothing happens. It will execute, that's it. But suddenly say tomorrow password is expired. Then what will it do? It cannot go and get it, right? So if that is the case, in that case, what will happen that you want to handle? Or like, you are asking user to enter all the numbers such that you can do some kind of arithmetic, let's say addition, calculator example you created. But user enters instead of 2, he gives some garbage. Then you want to handle, right? So instead of you breaking the code and creating an exception, you want to handle better way. Or I will tell in a better way to understand. Say you are opening a mobile app. Suddenly you saw and you are playing some game and you got a big code saying like some exception, some big message you got. Do you feel comfortable in that way? Or if the same big instead of big message in one line, so network is slow, so please check your network. Which one do you be more comfortable? The second statement, right? So that is the reason exception handling is needed. Whether you sometimes like if some things were done, if you want to bypass or like warning, all these things you can do based upon that. Now going further, what are these exceptions? How many types of exceptions are there? How we can handle them? If you see in the Python, so latest Python 3 documents, you can see that these were all the references. You can see the highlighted one is the link. You can just walk through and see that in Python. So we have, exceptions. We have warnings also. If you see down, there were warnings also. Warning means like I showed you once also. If you use the is operator with a numbers instead of variables, it will give a, so syntax warning, right? So like that also warning happens. If you want to handle warnings also, we can do exceptions also. And by looking at itself, we can understand zero division error means whenever you divide by 0, you get an error. So memory error, whenever memory out of excuses, you will get it. Keyboard interrupt error means whenever you can stop with the keyboard, you get it. So like that, different kinds of errors will be there. So you, based upon the context, you can go for a particular exception. Say, if I am going for say exception handling of IPYENV, IPython notebook I am creating now. So now briefly understood what is an exception and how it works. So if I showed you a lot of big hierarchy of exceptions, right? Again, we will go back to there. First of all, if you want to know the list of total these things, there is another way called as built-in. So this is one module. This is very interesting. This module contains all the basic built-in modules and everything. Why? Because earlier in Python 2.1 or earlier versions of Python 2 also, so there used to be an exception as a separate module. Whenever you want to do exceptions, it is optional and you can get from that module and do it. But later on, they want to add everything into the built-in itself, and that's why they created a built-in. What are the built-in functions, built-in keywords, exceptions? Everything were part of this. I remember I told you, right? DAR is a built-in function which gives the list of attributes of anything. For this module, these are all the list of attributes. And did you see the major part of these are exceptions, right? Exceptions and warnings. And the remaining things are underscores. After that, you can see these are like built-in functions. Can you recognize? So they created a built-in function which have both exceptions and built-in functions together in a single place. Of course, you are not supposed to work with these modules. Just if you want to get a quick list, this is how you get it. Now, hope you remember. So in real world, I told many things. If I say number one is 10, it works perfectly. But if I give some space and if I say number two is equal to some 20, so you will get some exception. Of course, Python is processing, but like indentation errors and others will happen, right? If I do further, it will throw. But IPython is smart enough to help you better, but that is not a correct way. But say like, if I go with like for I in a range of say 20, hope you remember, say 20, instead of print with an indentation, if I don't give the indentation, it will throw an error, right? Indentation error. So like that, it will happen. So whenever it is happening, you want to handle it. Because these are the very basic syntax errors, you will never handle it. But say like if I have say 10 by 20, it will execute. But if I have the same 10 by 0 by 20 also, it will work. But if I say same 10 by 0, did you throw it through an error? This is called a zero division error. Or say like 10 plus 1, it would be 11. Say 10 plus 1 as a string. Did you see you got a type error? See, each time I'm showing different kinds of errors. This is an error and this is a message. Within the same error family also you can have two messages, right? I showed you earlier in indentations. So division error, zero division error. Then like type error or like 10 plus say number 3. Now it got name error. This is another thing. So similarly, I can go for different kinds of errors. So, is it the class for understanding all kinds of errors at this moment? No, this is not practical enough. So, but like how we can learn all of them? Slowly when you're working, let's say in file systems, you'll understand what are the file related permissions or runtimes or anything. So when you're working with some, real world, say, if I say like, number one is equal to 10, this is fine. But if I say number one dot upper, for a string, there is an uppercase, but integer, there is no uppercase. Then you will get a attribute error. Like this, there were a plethora of errors are there, which you will get it. Say like if you are going for a dictionaries, next you will learn about a dictionaries. Say my dict is equal to something. So, and like my dict dot get off, say some key one, and you don't have. So fine, like if I do something like this, say key one, this is syntax error. And if I do the same thing in a different way, say I don't write a dot and I do directly, I got a key error. Means I know different kinds of errors when they come. And someone told just now like you got an issue. Say like say I define same number two is equal to int of say input of so enter number is equal to number one is two is equal to. So and if the user enters, you want to print number two, whatever is value. Say you are supposed to give some 10. I gave 10, fine, it worked. What if I execute the same thing and run it again? Say like if I give 10.0 or 10.3, did you see what happened? 10.3 means you got an error. So this is a value error. Hope you got the similar error. So like this, different kinds of errors happens. So whenever these errors comes, we need to handle them. So that is called as exception handling. Exception means what? Generally in literal meaning means what? You are like a, so you are giving like an exception, right? So someone is given an exception, even they do a mistake, they were pardoned. So this is the literal meaning of exception. So how to do that is called as exception handling. And why to do that, I just told you. A simple example, if you are in an Android or a iOS app, so just mobile, suddenly if you get a big message, weird message, as a non-technical person, do you feel comfortable? Or simply if it says that, so check your internet, or like you don't have permissions. So if that message is there, you will be more comfortable, right? So whenever those kind of exception happens, you are handling such that it will not create a weird impact on the program usages. Hope it's clear what I'm trying to say. So we can stop here. So tomorrow we will see, like I told you, how many types of exceptions are there. Now next I will check like how to handle these exceptions. What are the different types of exceptions? How we all gonna handle all these kinds of exceptions. That would be the next class. Okay, and asserts, trace bats, warnings, all to do. We can do that. So I want to stop here.